Elasticity of demand and the law of demand. This is one of the most emphasized topics that each one of you must know. So for you to understand elasticity of demand, you must understand the law of demand. So demand, by definition, is simply the willingness to purchase at various prices during the period of time, and also the ability to purchase. So you may be willing, but there must also be an ability. These two make up what we call demand. So demands, definitions of demand differ. According to Ferguson, it says demand refers to quantities of a commodity that consumers are able to buy at each possible price during a given period of time. Whereas B.R. Schisler says it's the ability and willingness to buy a specific quantity. So there are determinants of demand that you need to know. There are about 7 to 10. But common are the following: the price of that commodity, the price of related commodities, the level of income, the tastes and preferences, and other factors that may constitute expectations, weather, culture. All these are factors that affect your demand for a commodity. Now, to start with, the price of that commodity is the first determinant of demand, holding other things constant. We use the term ceteris paribus in economics. This is because of income and substitution effect. The price of that commodity is one key determinant. So how much a commodity costs will determine how much of a commodity you will buy. So demand is either given as a direct demand or an inverse demand. So the price of that commodity will determine how much of the commodity you're going to buy. So for instance, if the price of a normal good that we're dealing with is 5 kwacha, and it goes to almost expiring and it's going to 4 kwacha, you buy more of that because the price has gone down according to the law of demand. The law of demand simply stipulates that the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded, and the lower the price, the higher the quantity demanded. Now, when we're dealing with related goods, we're dealing with either a complementary good or a substitute good. Complementary goods are goods which move hand in hand. They have a positive elasticity of demand. Examples are a pen and ink. You can't use one without the other. So this means that if the price of one good goes up, the demand of that good will go down, as well as the demand for the other good. Conversely, if the price of that good goes down, the demand for that good will go up, as well as the demand for the other good. What am I saying? The price of a pen goes down. People buy more of what? Ink, which is the other good, and the pen, because they move hand in hand. The other goods are what we call substitute goods. Substitute goods have a negative elasticity because they move the same direction. So, for instance, tea and coffee. Remember, with this concept called ceteris paribus, meaning holding all other things constant, it means you not need to start arguing to say, but I don't take coffee, there's caffeine in tea. Holding all things constant, meaning assuming that you can take both of them, assuming there are no other hidden conditions. So if the price of one good goes down, the demand for the other good the demand for the other good will go down. So what this means is if the price of tea goes down, people buy more of tea, whereas the demand for coffee will go down. So this makes the elasticity of demand for substitute goods to be what? Positive. The other determinants of demand are income. Now, the aspect, before I leave the substitute goods, the idea of having to switch from one good to the other because one good has become cheaper is what we call the substitution effect. When tea becomes cheap and people who are coffee lovers switch to buying tea, we call that the substitution effect. When two tutors are teaching managerial economics and you discover that you are understanding more from one tutor, maybe even because of price, assuming they're all teaching the same, the fact that you are all shifting from one tutor to the other, this is called substitution effect. So the determinants of demand also include what we call the level of household income. This is what brings about what is called the income effect. So what happens is, for a normal good, if the income goes up, the quantity demanded for that normal good should go up. But there are a few exceptions. The exceptions occur for what are called inferior goods. This is one paradox that economists have to say, why, under what conditions do we get to have a situation where the income goes up, then you're buying less of that good? This is an inferior good. For instance, Salaola, your income goes up, you demand less of the Salaola goods, you want to go to boutique goods. So the Salaola goods become what? Inferior goods. So, are we together so far? So a quick, can you remember? We've talked about the factors that affect demand. Number one, what did we say? Number one, what
Price.
Price of a commodity.
Price of the commodity good. Now the price of the commodity, you also need to understand one thing, that elasticity of demand is always negative. Okay, so if demand elasticity falls at point A, it means the good is inelastic. If it falls at point B, it means it's unit or unitary. If it falls at point C, it means that is elastic, meaning it's very sensitive. So negative 0.2, negative 1.5, negative 2.5, and negative 1.0. W, X, Y, Z. Which of these ones is elastic, inelastic, and unitary? Quickly. W is what?
Inelastic. Inelastic.
Okay, anything starting with 0 is inelastic. X is what?
Elastic.
Y?
Elastic.
Z?
Unit elastic.
Unit elastic, excellent. Other factor that you say affects the demand?
Level of income.
Level of income, good. Under level of income, we brought three types of goods. Number one, there's a good whose elasticity becomes negative. Okay, it has a special name. There's a good
inferior.
Excellent, inferior good. So point A is inferior. Then there's a good whose demand will increase with income. At point B, what is that called?
A normal good.
And there's a special kind of good at point C, whose it's elastic. Income elasticity is elastic. What good is that?
A luxury good.
A luxury good. Excellent. So give me examples of a luxury good.
Jewelry.
Pardon?
They can be jewelry or sport.
I don't know whether it's me or my network.
Blue label, whiskey.
Okay. So
Boy,
blue-
let's get
Yeah,
ice cream
ticket.
from Woolworths.
all right.
Yeah, ticket.
Which other luxurious good? And what's a luxury good?
A luxury good is a good whose elasticity is above the normal, above 1. It's only bought by the high and affluent. It's not even necessary. But in a blue label whiskey.
Excellent. All right. So all right. So that's correct. So goods that we can, those are luxurious goods. So which other factor affects your demand?
Product quality.
Related goods.
Product quality.
What related goods did we talk about?
Investment.
What related goods did we talk about?
Maitama TV. Kulewa jambo. Akanya mwana.
Tea and coffee.
Mwana ya mutamba.
Tea and coffee.
Okay. So on the related goods, there was a key concept that we talked about, that one has a negative elasticity and the other one has a positive elasticity of demand. Which one is got a negative elasticity and which one has a positive elasticity of demand?
Complementary,
Complementary,
negative,
negative.
substitute, positive.
Okay, I feel so proud. I'm sure these are the students who were in my class. And most of these questions were in there in the quizzes. So these are the questions that were recurring. So complementary has a negative elasticity and substitute good has a positive elasticity. These are the main related goods. So of course we have other types of goods like the given goods, merit goods, public goods. What other goods?
Veblen goods.
Yes, the Veblen good. Good. So what are substitute goods? What are public goods? What are merit goods? Just briefly. Any that you remember?
Given.
Substitute goods, goods where one can be used in place of the other, where sometimes when, for example, the price of that good goes up, like candolo and bread. When the price of bread is up, people can substitute it with sweet potato.
Okay. Then what are Veblen, given, merit, public goods?
And then Veblen goods, these are luxurious goods that are for the high and mighty, like yachts, expensive jewelry, blue label, gold label. Yeah.
Okay. And merit, public goods? Merit goods, public goods are produced by the federal government, like road, street lighting. Merit goods by the private sector, like private schools, private hospitals. Okay, could have public goods like government schools, government hospitals. All right, I'm glad you've been reading. So, like I said, you need to know the principle before you understand much of these ones there. So we've talked about this. So when you see this, the exception of an inferior good, when your monthly income goes up, the quantity demanded goes down. Okay, other determinants of demand include taste and preferences. Okay, other factors will be the size of the population, the composition of the population. What's the difference in this size of population and composition? Can somebody elaborate?
I think, I'm not sure, but I think when we're looking at the size of the population, it's more or less related to the numerical number, like how many people are in that population. Whereas the composition, we are looking at their buying power. What type of people are in that population? Do we have people with high salaries, medium salaries, or low salaries?
Exactly. It's the quality of the composition. Yeah, you may have too many, yet with low purchasing power. So these are very cardinal factors. How is culture a determinant of demand or beliefs? Are they really determinants of demand? They determine what kinds of goods they could buy?
Yes, they are.
Yes,
In
I
that,
think they do.
there are some cultures. For example, if you are in business you are selling pork, if that area or most of the people who live there, they are Christian, like SDAs, who doesn't take pork, meaning the business you can't sell a lot, because if the majority who live there, they are what? The SDA. Or you go in the Muslim culture, there are things which the Muslim doesn't take. So for those, if you are doing business of what Muslim don't take, or the Hindus, still that will affect your business. So the first thing you look at the culture of the people who determine your business.
Excellent. Okay, so you guys know what you're talking about. Okay, I only have 6 minutes, maybe, because I need to start quantitative methods. We're overrunning. Okay, so the law of demand states that people will buy more at lower prices and will buy less at higher prices, holding other things constant. So the higher the price, the higher the quantity demanded. The higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded. The lower the price, the higher the quantity demanded. So this is the law of demand I already explained. Now there's something that came like this in the quiz where people failed to identify one variable. So when you're given demand function, it's in terms of dx. So dx means demand for the same commodity. dx against PR, or it can be another letter, py. It's a related good. Then the demand x against y. Y stands for what? Income. Sometimes y can stand for, they'll put I instead of y there. Okay, they'll put M instead of I. It all stands for the income. And T is the test. E is expectation of the consumer. How does expectation of the consumer affect the demand? How does expectation of the consumer affect the demand?
I think if maybe the quality of the goods is to the expectation of the consumer, the demand will be high. And then if it doesn't meet the consumer's expectation, the demand for that good will be low.
Okay, that's very good. In terms of fuel, there are also expectations that people may have that the fuel will go up. And when you hear that by midnight, what happens? People queue up
to buy now.
So expectations.
People queue up.
Yeah. So that consumer expectations of prices going up or prices going down also affect the demand. If you hear that fuel will go down, what will happen? Will people queue up? they'll wait for the prices to go down, isn't it? So using this demand equation, so he'll have to bring now a multi-linear equation, which may come like this. So the demand equation is given by 3 minus 4 px plus 5 py plus 10 y, and you'll be asked what is the relationship between good y and good x. So good y and good x are substitute goods for 2 reasons. Number one, their gradients are different. This one is a positive and this one is a negative. If both of them were negatives, we could say they are complementary goods. All right. Then you would be asked, suppose y stands for income, py a related good, ex the commodity itself. So you're told that the price of x, for instance, is 3 kwacha. Price of y is 6 kwacha, and the income is 4 kwacha. So calculate the current demand. So you just substitute in there. Current demand will therefore be what? 3 minus 4. Where there's px, we put a what? A 3. And where there's py, what we put? A 6. Where there's a y there, what we put? The income we put
4.
4. Then we substitute to get the actual current demand. So this is 3 minus 12 plus 30 minus what? Plus 40. What are we getting? 79, isn't it? Then we calculate the price elasticity of demand.
3.
What's elasticity of demand? If Q is subject to the formula, you just put the gradient there, B times the price of X over current demand. So where there is B, and the number that is B before the what? The actual commodity. What number is this? 4. So you put your negative 4 there. Then what is the price of X? Is 3. And what is the annual demand or the current demand? 79. So what do we get here?
Is it really 79, Collins?
Actually 61.
Let's see what we got.
It's 61.
It's 61, yes.
61?
Actually 61.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
40 plus 30 plus 3 minus 12 is 61.
Thank you for that. So this by that is minus 12.
Collins is right.
Oh, it's 79 if you are using
Collins
board
is
mass.
right. Collins is right.
Is it?
The only question is,
79,
is
yes.
it a negative or
The negative is 12.
Oh, okay. So I'm okay.
Anyway,
People-
calculation in the Sanga 61.
you're okay? Board mass. You
Guys,
start with
3 minus 12 is 9. 9 plus 30 is 39 plus 40 is 79.
This is 9 here. Okay.
negative 9.
It's negative 9.
It's negative
That's
9.
3
So when you
minus
do,
2.
wait, I think you
Yes.
do
So
40
it
plus
gives you
30
61.
plus 3 minus 12.
So it's 61.
It is 61.
61. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So is it a negative or a positive?
It's a positive 61.
so what do we get here? Negative 0 point.
0.196721311. So it's negative 0.19672.
Okay. So can somebody comment what type of elasticity is this? Elastic, inelastic, unit elastic, or inelastic?
Inelastic.
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 What does it mean when a demand is inelastic?
When the demand is inelastic, it's supposed to be
A slight
between
change.
0 and -1.
Yes, my question is in the actual sense. What does it mean when demand is inelastic?
Okay. When demand is-
I think it means the price does not, if you increase the price, it doesn't truly affect the demand. That's my thinking.
That question was there in the quiz. Yes, you are right. I'll give you 70% for that. It simply means if you're
And the
going
other 30?
it simply means if you're going to increase your price, the quantity demanded will reduce by less than the increase you put in. For instance, if you're increasing your demand, your price by 10%, and your quantity demanded decreases by 5%. It means what? It is what? Inelastic. But
Inelastic.
if you increase by 10%, then your quantity demanded decreases by 10%. What do we call that?
Unit elastic.
Unit elastic, good. And if it reduces by 15%,
Then it's elastic.
then it's elastic. Exactly. All right.
Yes.
So there was a question which was directly like that.
Yeah.
All right.
Collins, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
In this case, I want to, looking at the price elasticity of demand equation that we've just solved, and I want to relate it in terms of if we say that it's inelastic, then in this case we are saying it's 19%. Is it? Is that 19%? 0.119, yeah?
A 1% increase in price will result into a 0.19% decrease in quantity demanded. This is what it means.
So where do I get the 1% from? That's been my.
It's like $1. It's a standard reference point. If we found 2.1,
It's a standard one.
yes. If we found 2.1,
Okay, so whatever we find here will be against 1.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Then we go to cross price elasticity of demand. So it's crossing from good what? X to good Y. So we're going to look at what? The gradient times the price of what? Of Y over the quantity of what? X. It's just moving. Sometimes they may use here M, upper party M, then upper party Z, as long as it's moving from one letter to another. If it's moving from M to M, it is on price elasticity. It's within the price. Okay, you're getting the concept. But if it's moving from one letter to the other, it's crossing. It's cross price elasticity. So when you're dealing with cross price elasticity, we're interested in knowing whether the good is a substitute or it's a what?
Or a complement.
Yes.
Complementary.
Here we get the gradient here, which is what? 5 times the price of Y was what? 6. Then over the current demand, which is 61. So what are we getting here? 30 over 61, which is 0. What?
0.4918.
Okay, so what's your comment?
The substitute good.
Excellent. Why?
Because it's
Because the
above
positive-
0.
It's in the positive range.
Yes, in the positive range. So if we got a negative, it would have been a what?
A complementary
A
good.
complementary.
Very good. Excellent. Then finally we find the income elasticity of demand. Try to find the income elasticity of demand. Before I proceed, sorry, is there anyone behind? Please ask. Ask now. Is anyone behind?
In a Collins,
Uh-huh.
make sure in a case where on your equation where we have the Q there, if we had the P, we do 1 over B, right?
Yes, 1 over B, yes. 1 over B, yes. Becomes an inverse demand, yes. 1 over. I'll discuss that later on. We have a P like this. In terms of, this is called an inverse demand. So the elasticity of demand will be 1 over B. You guys have been studying. Very impressive. You just have to tell your mind you have no option at this moment but to understand. All right, so try to calculate the those who did not write the quiz tomorrow. I think it will be open at 10 hours for those who didn't write the test tomorrow. If you are here. Okay, so income elasticity.
Which test is that?
The managerial. I think I know of 2 people. So those of you who did not write, you could inbox me. Those that didn't try the test. Okay, so calculate. Here we want to understand whether the good is what? Inferior, normal, or luxury. Right? So B times Y over QX. So calculate. What is the B?
$10.
B is 10, correct? Then what is our Y?
4.
Y is 4. Then what is our QX?
61.
61. So what are we getting? 40 over 61.
0.6557.
We're getting 0.6557. 6557. Okay. So what type of good is this?
It's a normal good.
It's a normal good. How do you know it's a normal good?
Because it's between 0 and 1.
0 and 1. Okay. It's a normal good. Suppose we found 1 point 6, 7. What would you say about that?
Luxury good.
It's a luxury good. Excellent. If we found a negative 0.6 something,
Inferior good.
Inferior.
inferior good.
But I have a question here.
Yes, please.
The other one, we find 0.49. You said it's a substitute. Then this one is 0.65. You said it's a normal good. So what's the difference between the two?
Collins, can I answer?
Yes, please.
Okay, so you look at the function, the elasticity function that you've been given. So when you're doing elasticity of income, then your answers are going to lead you towards inferior, normal, and luxurious good. However, when you're doing cost price elasticity, you only get 2 answers, either complementary or substitute. So the first one, we were doing cost price. That's why we found substitute and complementary. But this time around, we're using income. So every time it's income, you're supposed to have 3 answers in mind: inferior, normal, and luxury.
Great. Is that clear?
Okay, thank you.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Any other question? Any other question? Any other question? Anyone with any other question?
Collins,
Yes, please.
is it possible just by looking at the demand function, then you deduce if it's going to be a substitute good, something like that? There was something that you said when you just wrote down the demand function, but it passed me, where you had made a comment like it's a complementary, something like that, but I didn't get the reason behind that.
Can somebody help me with that?
It's because you have to check on the gradients if they are if the gradient for good X is a negative and the gradient for good Y is a positive, then you definitely know that this is a complementary. But if they are all negatives, or if they are all negatives, if one is positive and the other one is negative, you know that they are substitutes. But if you find that they are all negatives, then those are complementary goods. So the coefficient on the good is very, very key, whether it's a negative or a positive.
I like you guys already. So with what he said, can you tell me what type of goods these are? Based on part B, state whether a good Y is a complementary good or a substitute good.
So Y is carrying a positive to it. I want to assume it's a substitute good.
Is she right?
Maybe my question would be, does the coefficient that is carrying the negative or positive sign also matter? Yeah, in this case, like the function that you've displayed, there is positive 25 and the other one is negative 100. So if the negative was on the 25 and the 100 is positive.
Okay.
What to be the interpretation? Maybe just explain in those lines.
The key is these signs are opposing each other. Of course,
yes.
ideally, elasticity of demand is always supposed to be negative. So if the examiner has put it properly, this will always be a negative coefficient because it has to give you a negative elasticity. It's in real situations where you're going to have a positive because it will be a supply function. Needless to say, the key is that I'm assigning the na sana these are substitute goods. They are the same. Napanga positive na positive or negative na negative. Yale kwa tama direction ya mwene. It means it is a what? A complementary. Is that clear?
Yes, it's clear.
All right, you've been a lovely class. I will need to end here.